The X-Men series threw in some of the most iconic heroes of all time, from the unforgettable Wolverine to good old Deadpool. Genetic mutations give a generous scope for characters to be super powerful, and the X-Men universe definitely didn't waste this opportunity. The mutations from the X gene are a bit tricky. You never know if you're going to break out in multicolored feathers or turn into a weather goddess. And let's not forget the sadistic labs that can enhance mutant powers at the price of a world of pain. With all of this in mind, we're counting down the top 10 overpowered X-Men heroes from the movies, so please like and subscribe and also give me a follow on Twitter at TV Regent. Kickstarting things is Quicksilver, or Peter Maximoff, or Pietro, for those of you confused by his WandaVision cameo. Quicksilver is your usual stay-at-home grown-up son. Well, apart from his mutation and kleptomania, of course. He makes his first appearance in Days of Future Past and has since then become a fan-favorite character in the X-Men series. Within a matter of seconds, he manages to one-up Xavier, Hank, and Wolverine, checks their vehicle registration, rental agreements, pulls their wallets out, and confuses the hell out of everyone. Given his easygoing ways and goofy attitude, it's easy to forget just how powerful Quicksilver is. His superhuman speed gives him a bunch of perks like increased agility in extreme force generation. How many mutants can boast about breaking into the Pentagon and rescuing Magneto of all people? And let's not forget the iconic kitchen scene where he saved the future within seconds. Despite being cocky, overconfident, and utterly annoying at times, Quicksilver's heart's in the right place. He could have just whizzed by instead of saving everyone from the exploding school in Apocalypse. Next up, we have the brother of one of the very first X-Men, Cyclops, or Scott Summers. From being the freaked out kid his brother brings into Xavier's school, to being one of Xavier's trusted companions, Cyclops has one amazing arc in the series. Blasting off lasers from your eyes doesn't sound so cool in practice, especially when you turn into the modern version of Medusa and fry anyone who looks at you. So no wonder Scott wasn't too thrilled when his powers were activated. Over the years, Cyclops gets good at controlling his energy blasts. In the first X-Men movie, he was even able to set the level of energy of his blast thanks to his super cool visors. Gotta admit it, even an ordinary human would look pretty cool in those visors. Then there's his infamous beef with Wolverine. The fact that he was dating Wolverine's crush didn't really help his case at all. Although he lacks his brother's sense of humor, Cyclops turns out to be one of the most reliable members of the team, saving Xavier, Jean, and Storm countless times. What's blue and loved, but not a Smurf? Usually when they grow big and angry, they tend to lose their IQ. No offense, Bruce. But throughout the series, Beast stands as one of the smartest and wisest mutants. Hiding in plain sight, Hank McCoy was working with the CIA when Charles Xavier walked in on him and spilled his deepest secret. Being super smart is one thing, but having claw-like feet isn't something you'd boast about. Hank wouldn't even end up on this list if it wasn't for his efforts to cure his mutations. One of the few times his genius failed, he ended up turning into an angry blue furball. But this furball isn't to be underestimated. After his beast mode was turned on full power, he could easily lift 10 tons, overpower Wolverine, and hurl cars like tennis balls. Like we said, muscle power isn't Beast's only strength. With his genius IQ, he designed almost all the suits, vehicles, and gadgets, including Cerebro. What's more, he even works for the government, representing mutants as the Secretary of Mutant Affairs.
My boy, I have been fighting for mutant rights since before you had claws.
Did he just call me boy?
Full slide secure.
The son of Mystique and Azazel, Nightcrawler, or Kurt Wagner, has one of the most impressive mutations in the X-Men series. Like Azazel, he has a devilish tail that can grab and stab. His tail is actually stronger than his arms, allowing his scrawny self to throw grown men up in the air. But his most celebrated skill is his ability to teleport in a blue puff. From infiltrating the White House to saving astronauts in outer space, his skills come completely handy when you want to get in or out of somewhere. Despite being super powerful, Nightcrawler is actually a shy and timid person. He's simply a quiet dud who enjoys his time alone. His reluctance to use his powers makes him all the more dangerous because no one knows just how powerful he is until you really tick him off.
Maximum effort.
What list would be complete if we didn't bring in the infamous Deadpool? And no, we're not talking about the stitched up creepy version made by Stryker. We're talking about Deadpool from the revised timeline with his verbal assaulting skills very much intact. In the revised timeline, Wade Wilson is your average smart mouth. Well, not so average really, but some things never change and he's still a mercenary. Then comes Cancer, Ajax, the workshop, and all sorts of hellfire that turn him into a dried up prune with superpowers. Unlike in the earlier timeline where Wade was a mishmash of all kinds of superpowers, in the revised timeline, his main flex was his ability to heal, which paired quite well with his utter carelessness about personal safety. Even though it seems like a normal power to have, as far as superheroes go at least, Deadpool is actually way stronger than he lets on. Getting his head skewered simply left him dazed, which goes to say that he can survive serious injury to vital organs. And besides, he did survive being ripped in half by the Juggernaut.
I'm gonna rip you in half now.
That is such a juggernaut thing to say.
Next up, we have Deadpool's buddy Cable, who makes his first major on-screen appearance in Deadpool 2. No one really knows much about this old grumpy dude except for that he's deadly and that he's grumpy. But those who stuck around for the post-credit scene in Deadpool got a heads up on Cable's appearance. According to the comics, Cable's the son of Scott and Jean Grey's clone, and that's a complicated story and we'll do that one another time. For now, let's just focus on his powers because he has a stockpile of skills enough to bring the house down, or the prison down, literally speaking. Cable's powers come from a virus called the techno-organic virus, which transforms organic material to techno-organic material. This gives him the usual package deal of enhanced strength, durability, vision, and so on. Also, he's telekinetic. If you were to ask him what his strengths were, he'd probably say it's something dark like being able to kill anything. But in fact, Cable is a very emotional person. He was a loving father and husband, and in spite of himself, he was a good friend to Deadpool.
Nice suit.
Henry, this is Logan. He's
Wolverine.
I hear you're quite an animal.
Look who's talking.
Then there's the most legendary mutant of all time, Wolverine. One of the few characters to be played by the same actor throughout the series, Wolverine has certainly left his mark on the X-Men universe and of course our hearts. It's no secret that his main powers are his adamantium claws and his healing factor. Even without his adamantium, Logan's body is far more durable than any ordinary person. How many times has he been shot, stabbed and beaten up? He could even handle a nuclear explosion and survived through the Phoenix Force. How many mutants could even survive half of that? But despite all of this, his greatest strength is his perseverance and his sheer will. Amid all the smashing action, we tend to forget that even if he can heal, Wolverine can still feel pain like every other person. But he's walked through everything that came his way. Besides, his brother Victor and his clone had similar powers, but none of them had even a bit of his classy persona. The sarcasm, the grit, and his mutants all smashed together one awesome mutant that's worth celebrating.
Don't you people ever die!
Leading the top 3 powerful X-Men heroes is Storm. Being the weather forecaster for the team definitely earns you top spot in a school of mutant kids. Given her motherly nature and kind ways, it's easy to forget that she's an Omega-level mutant capable of even stopping a tsunami with powerful cyclones. Her weather manipulation allows her to ride thunderbolts and fry her enemies in the same breath. No wonder she's considered a weather goddess. Despite her awesome powers, Storm is one of the most level-headed members of the team. She was one of the few members who managed to keep her cool after the professor was killed and managed to keep the school open. Given Wolverine and Cyclops' hot-headed ways, her level head is a much-needed trait for the team. In the revised timeline, her more mischievous side pops up, but she's far too sensible to stay on the wrong side for too long. Like Nightcrawler, Storm is one of the mutants you shouldn't underestimate just because they seem nice. When pushed into a corner, Storm could fry someone in a heartbeat.
The war is still coming, Charles, and I intend to fight it. And I will always be there.
Coming in second is Professor X himself, one of the most powerful mutants to ever walk the Earth and a mutant who shaped the future of mutants as we know it. As one of the most telepaths in the world, no secret was ever safe with Charles Xavier around. As shown in Logan, he could even influence animals. Being such a powerful telepath is a full package deal, from reading thoughts and controlling minds to inducing invisibility. Professor X has a bunch of nifty skills up his sleeve. As an alpha level mutant and an omega class fast telepath, there's not much Professor X can't get past. Combine that with his extreme visionary ways, no wonder he went on to represent the entire mutant community. Even though he's been a jerk at times, especially in the Dark Phoenix, Professor X had a vision for a world where humans and mutants lived in peace. Even Magneto admitted his value for mutants. Professor X was so powerful that even disintegrating his body couldn't kill him. He simply transferred himself to the body of his brain-dead twin.
No, Moira.
Topping off our list is one of the rare mutants who managed to get the upper hand on Professor X, Jean Grey. Her powers were so vast that growing up, she had no idea that she was one of the most powerful mutants ever. Of course, Professor X suppressing her powers didn't help, but even without the Phoenix Force to spark up her abilities, Jean had pretty powerful telepathic and telekinetic powers. Absorbing the Phoenix Force and not blowing up into tiny bits speaks for itself. After all, it was a force that was strong enough to destroy entire planets that she sucked in like a sponge. Her humidity adds to her awesomeness. Since she doesn't go around showing off how powerful she is, the only way to find out the extent of her powers is the hard way, by ticking her off. Jean despises being controlled by others, and being so powerful, she's right to be annoyed when she's forced to stay down. Mutating is a messy business, and be warned, the results may vary. But tragic backstories aside, mutating worked out pretty well for these 10 mutants. Which of these powers would you like to have? Or do you prefer staying human? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Please click the card on your top right to check out my X-Men playlist, and like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter at TV Regent. Thank you for watching, and see you next time on the TV Regent.